I sought the highlight and saw the shadows as well. I tried to tell stories that might make the world a better place, or just photographs that you can escape it. You can sit and linger in the presence of it. 6 seconds in the pixel age, but I got interested in art more and more in my senior year of high school. I went to college for art and for a draft deferment. And I got the deferment, didn't do so well in art. Concepts, yeah, but then I went to photo school. I just realized I was seeing the world as a slideshow, whereas what I was seeing the world as I was making movies with a friend, and I saw the world as a slideshow, and I then took up still photography. My first year at Pear School of Art, where I was a photography major, actually the first few weeks, this photograph of mushrooms was the first thing I really liked and felt good bringing it in for critique. It was pretty well liked, you know. The technique was there, depth of field, contrast, the whole 9 yards. I'm sure the print in 1971 doesn't look quite as good as now that I've learned to print better. But we don't have that 1971 print anymore. I did a series at school of New Haven hippies. These were friends of a friend of mine, became friends of mine. Throughout life, friends. I get by friends in the courtesy of strangers. It's a line from a movie. I think it's a Mae West line. That, broken bones, and the right choices. Well, it's from the mid-70s. This woman, who is now divorced from her husband shortly thereafter, I think, had hired me to put together a birthday portfolio for her husband. Her husband thought she was cheating on him with me. She never convinced him that that was not the case. I think I finally said, look, man, she was making a present for you, and I got the, yeah, sure. Jesus, what an ass. This is Wally, the late Wally. Wally was a partner with my great friend Jim. They worked together on construction projects. Jim was the stove owner, and this was Wally just sitting having coffee. People, portraits, friendships, pocket friendships. They come in periods in your life. The older pockets tend to last longer than the newer pockets made since the turn of the century. Now, there's no pockets out here in Olympia. This is my daughter. Very late 70s. I can't remember if this picture was taken because she was not wanting to get dressed or not wanting to take a bath or just wanting to run around naked with her blanket. It is just a wonderful childhood picture. I'm so pleased. I'm pretty pleased with my daughter, too. I moved to Providence in 1980, late 1980, I don't know. But surprisingly, I moved in with the love of my life. And I just I was house husband for a while, looking for freelance work. I ran into I picked up a newspaper, you know, one of those alternative press, the Providence Eagle, and the editor's name was Vincent Suprenowitz. Now I figured, how many Vincent Suprenowitzes can there be in journalism? Since I worked with a Vincent Suprenowitz at the Hartford Advocate in the very early days of that publication. Well, he was one and the same. I went in, walked into the office, walked right into his office, sat down in the chair and said, "So, Vin, what's up?" He said, "Whoa." Not those exact words. Could have been "holy shit" or something, but you know. So I was working for them about an hour later, and they chased me around. Then we came out with a Newport edition, and here's a little child with her little, I guess it's a camera, in front of motorcycles, outside of a restaurant in Newport. What's in here? These are models, women. In the early digital craze of modeling, this woman called me from Maine. I had put online that I was going to go to Maine to visit Ken Morgan, a painter friend of mine, at his Grange Hall, and I was looking to have a dancer come and be photographed. We talked for 2 hours on the phone. It's kind of creepy. You know, it's like she was an old friend by the time we got there. She drove up from 125 miles south of where Ken's house was, and well, and she drove back the same day. We told her she could stay, but she couldn't. She later told me, after numerous sessions, that she had to stop working with me and seeing me. This was right after we went to lunch. She told me she was a vegetarian, so I said, geez. She told me that when we pulled in to get hot dogs. She said, but I can have a hot dog. So she had a chili dog, whatever. And then she said, we gotta stop. I can't continue being photographed by you and having so much of almost a relationship. I can't fall in love with you. I am falling in love with you. And that doesn't fit my business plan. I didn't see her again. I thought it was pretty darn strange. In the 80s, my daughter and I, Kirsten and I, took a trip. We would go on a summer vacation, the two of us, for a few years there, and we went to Portland, Maine. Actually, we went to Old Orchard Beach, but during the day, we went into Portland, Maine, and just wandered around downtown in Old Port. And as we wandered, there was the Portland Ballet's office and studio. I said, let's go in. And she said, well, Dad. I said, yeah, we can go in. And I went in and introduced myself, and they said, feel free to shoot some, and I shot some, and I got these 3 airborne. The 80s, theater became the thing. In the 70s, I worked with a dancer. We were both graphic artists at the Hartford Current, and she invited me to photograph a company she danced with. And I'm like 3 pictures into photographing them, and I know this is where I'm going, that motion is a primary theme. Motion and emotion. Mid-80s, late 80s, South Street Seaport, New York City. Bring in the clowns. Bring in the fun. There's always bars and the characters in them. This is Pops, sitting at the Bidwell Tavern on his 87th birthday. The Bidwell, this old tavern goes back into the 1700s. It was a tavern, it was a town hall, it was a police station, it was a bar. And it's become a very trendy little eating place. It was my office when I lived in Coventry. This is a shot from Roger Crossgrove's studio. Roger was an incredible artist, professor at the University of Connecticut, fairly well known. And I just wanted to do a portrait of him, and I wanted to do, basically I wanted to do a portrait of him without him. I, of course, did shoot him, but I wanted studios. I wanted the space where he lives. Backstage was another big thing. There'll be a couple of these. But I always wanted people to see the performance that happened before they sat in the audience. I even convinced the University of Connecticut to put up a backstage board out in the lobby with all the actors. I just thought it would educate the people. Who knows? Friends. This is Hugh and Jim playing music at the Paradise Cafe. I know Jim fairly well, but I know Hugh so well. I helped Hugh with his musical career. I helped publicity photos and just hanging out, walking around, talking. Art, life, art, life. Hugh's a generous and Hugh's just great. He's now a medical doctor, which he recently wrote me a letter saying that maybe I was part of him getting to that point in his life, that I had seen more in him than his early days than he saw in himself. I was really, really flattered. And I also could see it in the same way that he made me more of what I could be. I really wish that he wasn't 3,000 miles away. I could hug him right now. This is Ray Davies. And Dave Davies and a couple of the background singer from the Kinks. This is in the 90s at the University of Connecticut. The Tree series started in the 90s. You know, I shot trees, but this is, it's really the Tree series, but it's also the Porch series. When you live in Victoria and Willimantic, there are lots of wonderful porches. And this is our porch. In a little path, it's a rainy day, and the oak leaves are in the puddles. And you get this grand series of abstracts. Nobody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die. Friends. Friends could be amazing. I could spend an hour just popping up pictures and stories from Friends. This is Bruce Borders' from the early, Peter, you got diabetes here. Unknowingly, it's not quite sharp. And I didn't pick up on the fact that it was diabetes for another 4 years, 3 years, 2000 and, yeah, another 4 years. Always women. I mean, what moves better than a woman? If you're shooting motion, besides male dancers who would never pose. Sadly, it's true. There are people out there who thought all I did was naked women. And there were a few, but there are projects that women were involved in. Layered life, Victorian images, sort of Victorian images, playful. Arnold Prince, mentor, great friend, maybe the most intelligent person I've ever met. In this shot, he's working on a sculpture of the Reverend Hodge from Rhode Island. It was commissioned by Rhode Island College. And as part of the commission, Arnold insisted that he would hire me to document the entire process. What a trip. I got to go and hang out with my favorite person in the world and was paid handsomely for it. Life's good. Ambiance by Ubaz. Ubaz was a deli that was one of my offices in Willimantic. And Jason, a great friend, now an elementary school teacher after his Ubaz days were done. A great friend. Jeez. I convinced Jason that Arnold should paint a mural on his wall. I had Rex Fowler of Aztec Two-Step come in and sing one night for the release of his album about Elvis. Little girls, children, youth, a big subject. "Hey, mister, take my picture," said one of the 6 girls standing waiting for the bus. I said, "Climb up there on the wall and get together close." They climbed up there on the wall, got together close. I took a picture. And I said, "Thank you." And they said, you shot it all?" So they came down. I took a couple more of just a couple of them. Layered life, collages of different eras. A big theme. There are hundreds. I'm out here in the West Coast now. 2015, I met a man who lived near me who had an interest in photography. We went out on a couple little photo voyages, and he took me to see the architecture at this Baptist church. This is a reflection of the stained glass with the windows behind it lighting it. It's hard to say what's where here because it was 7 years ago. But I thought it was one of the better images I've taken since being here. The bus in 2016 when I still could walk that far. And I just saw this. I missed the bus. I saw this and I liked the way I could isolate it against the sky. it's just such a really fine motion and separation in it. I did say that I missed the bus because of this. I only had to wait 15 minutes. I'd wait much longer for a good shot. In Olympia, I'm slower and old. I came here because I was slower and old. I'm even older and slower now. But there were flowers and there were strolls and docks, but mostly now it's flowers. And my favorite subject, my granddaughter, Enora. Golly, she was just about 4.5 years, maybe. She's 10 now. I've been here a long time. And I like it. So what's the next one? I was looking through this morning and it's hard to pick. I usually get 5 or 6 portfolio shots a roll. A roll being like 36 pictures. So, you know, with digital, I'm getting 25, 30, 40 pictures a month, even in the rainy season. Well, I'd like to stay alive and keep shooting. I'd like to do more travel. I'm not talking about flying anywhere. I'd like to be able to go places, day trips around here. I've seen Olympia and Tacoma quite a bit, but I haven't gotten far. To the beach twice for an hour and a half, well, once for a whole day with the kids. But I want to see the poorer. I want to get out in the farmland, in the lower lands. My daughter's, her idea of going for a ride is between malls. But she's really quite good to me. You know, it's like, this is the late 2000s, early 2000s, I'm late, turn 50. I'm still on the playground. Life is a studio, a laboratory, and a playground. Well, my garden has become a flower garden. Up until last year, it was a functional food garden. I can't eat anymore. So it takes the place of, it keeps me being creative. Cooking was my other creative venture. I can't eat anymore. So it's cameras, smiles, and laughters, and walking around looking at the world when I can. Desert boots from 1968, not the same pair, but colored laces since the late 60s. It's been a trademark. Childhood since the mid 50s. Still going strong.